Okay, today we'll be doing cubic polynomial. Okay, cubic polynomial. For cubic polynomial, it can be in three form. It can be in an expression form. Right. It can be an equations. Right. It can be a functions. Okay, functions. So for an expression form, it will look like this. Or this is a cubic expressions. Why? Because the highest order is s cubed. Okay, the highest power is s cubed. So for a cubic expressions, most likely the question will ask you to factorize. Okay, or to find number of factors, right? Number of factors, right? And so on. So you need to factorize and expressions. So equations. So equation will look very similar to an expressions. The only thing is equal to zero. So it's an equations. Equation will have a solutions. There are solutions. Okay. So equation normally they ask you to solve, right? Solve the equations, or you find number of solutions or roots, right? Or number of roots, or number of real roots. Okay. So functions will look like this. Okay. So functions is easier, right? Because it's already let fx already. So it will be much easier. So function can be fx, can be gx, can be hx, can be anything. Okay. So now let's take a look on today we're doing expressions and equations. Expressions and equations. So for expressions, right? Okay, let's use expressions. Okay, expressions most likely they will ask you to factorize. Okay, factorize and expressions. Let's use the example. Right, the example. So to factorize the expressions, first step what you need to do, you need to let fx to be the expressions. Okay. So first we need to find the first roots or first factors. So how to find the first factors? So we will use the constant, the factor of the constant. Right. So we list it down by trying both positive and negative of the factors. Right. Both positive and negative of the factors, which is 1 and minus negative 1, 2 and negative 2, 3 and negative 3, 4 and negative 4, 6 and negative 6, 12 and negative 12, to see which one will give you the first factors. So but with the calculators you have now, you're able to get the first factors. Assuming now I get the first factor x equal to 2 or x equal to 2 or x equal to 2. So let's try x is equal to 2. F2, okay, if I substitute, so replace all the x with 2, so there will be a 2 cubed minus 3, 2 squared minus 4, 2 plus 12. So this will give me 8 minus 12 minus 8 plus 12 equal to 0. It need to be 0 because you use a calculator to form a 0. If it's not 0, that means it's either you sub only or whatsoever. Okay, so if I say that if you get 0, so which means x minus 2, right? So if I divide this, so it's x, so x equal to 2, I divide this, become x minus 2. So that means x minus 2 is the factors. So we write down by factor theorem. Okay, by factor theorem, by factor theorem, x minus 2 is a factors of fx. Okay, so now we found the first factors. So next we need to find the other two factors. So there are two ways. One, the long division methods, right? There are second one, later I'll go through them. So long division methods, so x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12, right? So if I divide this by x minus 2, right? Divided by x minus 2. So what we will do here is, so you use x cubed divided by x will give me x squared. So this will give me x squared, right? After that, x squared times x squared times minus 2. This is x squared multiplied by the whole thing here. Okay, x squared times x is x cubed, x squared times minus 2 give me negative 2. So what I will do here, x cubed minus 2x squared. Okay, bracket negative. Right, so negative 3 minus negative 2 will give me minus negative x squared. I bring this down. So now do the same thing. Minus x squared divided by x will give me negative x. X. Negative x multiplied by x. Negative x multiplied by negative 2. So this will give me negative x squared plus 2x. Right, so minus. Right, minus. So negative 4 minus 2 will give me negative 6. So minus 6x. I bring this down. Plus 12. So next minus 6x divided by x will give me negative 6. Right, and this will be negative 6x plus 12. Okay, because I need to negative 6x. Negative 6 times x will give me negative 6x. Negative 6 times negative 2 will give me plus 12. So with this, I should get a 0. Or because we know it's the factors, I should get a 0. So with this, I can conclude that x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12 is equal to x minus 2 x squared minus x minus 6. Then I will try to factorize that quadratic equations. Okay, so this is using a long division methods. Another methods we will use, right, is we doing the compare coefficients methods. So as we know that x cubed x cubed polynomial, if I divide by a linear, right, I should get a quadratic equation. So this is always the case. Okay, so this is a form of quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c. Right, so a linear multiplied by a quadratic will give me a cubic equations. So this is how it should look like. So now let's compare. So I'll always compare two. I'll compare two first, which is I'll compare the constant and the highest order, which is constant and x cubed. So I'll compare constant. Right? Compare constant. So let's take a look on the left hand side itself. I only have a constant term. That will be a plus 12. Right? On the right hand side, let's take a look. Right hand side. So x. So just like using expansions. So let's just observe. X multiplied by x squared can never be constant. X minus by x can never be constant. X multiplied by constant will never be constant. So the x term will not give you any constant term. So how about the constant term? A constant times x squared not a constant. Constant times x also not a constant. Constant times constant is a constant. So I will know that negative 2 times c will give me the constant here. Right? So by solving this, c is equal to negative 6. Right? Okay. So that's the first thing I'll compare. Next, I'll compare coefficient of x cubed, or I'll compare constant and the highest order. X cubed itself, x cubed on the left hand side, we will only have one x cubed term, which is, right, so the coefficient, if nothing is there, is 1. Right, it's 1. So this is 1 is equal to, okay, let's take a look on the right hand side. So I want a x cubed term. I want an x cubed term. So x times what will give you x cubed term? X times x cubed will give me x cubed, right? Oh, x times x cubed will give me, x times x squared will give me x cubed term. So I know it's a. Coefficient is a, was 1 times a. So the rest you can see that x times the rest will not be x cubed, because x times x give x squared. X times constant is x term. So constant times this is x squared. Constant times x is x. Constant times constant is constant. So there's only one x cubed term. Also, that's why I say there's only one x cubed term. So a is equal to 1. Next, I have three unknown, like A, B, C. I found A, I found C. Maybe to find B, I just need to substitute any numbers, then I should be able to get B. If I want to use compare coefficient, it's still possible. So I will compare constant, I will compare x cubed. So the next thing I will compare will be the okay, I can compare x squared or x terms. So let's compare x squared term. So x squared term, let's take a look. Same thing here on the left hand side itself. I only got one x squared term, or it's negative x 3x squared. So the coefficient is negative 3. On the right hand side, let's take a look here. Right, so I want x squared term. So x times x squared give me x cubed. X times x give me x squared. So which is 1 times b. So that will give me b. Right, b. So next thing, then x times constant will give me a x terms. So it's not x squared. So next thing, we start with the constant. So constant times x squared will give me a x squared term, which is, so it's negative 2 times a. So negative 2 times a, right? Now followed by the rest. So you can see that constant times x will give me x term. Constant times constant will give me a constant term. So now I have this equation here. So which means that, but I know that a is equal to 1. So I can find b. Alright, so b equal to negative 1. So with this, right, because I've written, so I know that, okay, to factorize this cubic equations, I have a linear and then quadratic, right? Quadratic. So I want to rewrite this again. So I'll rewrite this, which is x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x plus 12. This is x minus, right? I know that initially, that's the beginning, I write this. Right? So I know that a is 1, right? B is minus 1, C is minus 6. Then I will try to factorize it where possible, because the question asked me to factorize, right? I should factorize it as much as I can. So x minus 3, x minus x plus 2. So that will be the, so there are two, these are the two way of solving. Okay, so next, how about equations? For equations, I always ask you, right, to solve. Okay, to solve our equations, let's see the equation itself. You look like this, right? Okay, so these are expressions, and there's the equations. So expressions is like this, equations is like this, right? Let me use different color. Equation is like this, right? So the steps we do is exactly the same, right? Exactly the same until it reach the long divisions here, until you found A, B, and C, and then there will be some differences. What are the differences? So because we are trying to solve the equations, so I'll rewrite the equations here. Right, instead of doing that, I'll rewrite my equations here. Right, so I know that after the long divisions, I know that these cubic equations, or rather the expressions here, can be rewrite this at this form. So instead of writing it this way, I write it in this way, because this is an equations, just like we factorize the quadratic equations. And so after that, I will know that, because I know that x minus 2 multiplied by x squared minus x minus 6 is 0. Therefore, either x minus 2 equals 0, or x squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. So x equal to 2. So this one I will factorize. Okay, I will factorize. You might ask why I don't factorize it. Why do I factorize it here? Because there will be cases that some quadratic equations cannot be solved, cannot be factorized. No, cannot be factorized. We need to use formula. So when if you have habit of stopping it here, you cannot factorize, you might not know what to do. So I will say that if it's solving, so I will solve first. I'll get one set. This one I just write it here. Now it's a quadratic equations. If it can be factorized, I factorize. If it cannot be factorized, I will use equations. Okay, sorry, I'll use the formula. Right? Okay. Okay, so therefore the answer is x equal to minus 2, x equal to 2, or x equal to 3. Okay, so that is the difference. So similarly on the other side, on the other side itself, because we are solving the equations, okay, so I will rewrite this here, right? Okay, so I found my A, which is 1. I'll find my B, which is negative 1, negative 6. So same thing here. So I'll find X, one of them. Okay, so this is exactly the same. So I will not explain again. So because I don't want, if it cannot be solved, it can be factorized, I will use formula here. Okay. Okay, so x equal to minus 2, x is equal to 2, or x is equal to 3. So that is the difference between an expressions and an equations. There are two methods. Which method you prefer is okay, but I will prefer the long division methods than the compare coefficients. Okay,